May. It's a special month, isn't it? It's obviously not May when I'm filming this, just a disclaimer, it's in fact April. But May is a special month for many reasons, especially I suppose in the northern hemisphere and around my parts, like Europe and whatnot. And there's a lot of kind of festivals that take place and special pagan rituals and whatnot. Obviously it's kind of the midpoint before winter coming again, isn't it, almost? And there's a lot of special things happen, especially around May Day, which is the 1st of May. We have a May bank holiday here and stuff. But I just thought it's a really interesting month to scent. There's not just these kind of spiritual and kind of natural phenomenon that take place in these old festivals and special things that happen around it. There's also it's a quite important month in human history. I'm not going to go too far into that, but a lot of very important things have happened. Also, I was born. Believe it or not, I am a spring baby, and I know that's not always easy to believe. It's also, yeah, it's when we start pushing into proper spring. I mean, to be fair, as miserable as it is, you can see from previous videos, life is definitely flourishing here now. So yeah, and I just think it would be great to go over some of the important things. So let's just not waffle on and get cracking on. So first up, one of the more kind of famous things that happens in May. I don't know if this is just a British thing. I think they weirdly do it in America, although I'm not sure what it really means there to Americans. But as far as we're concerned, the dancing around the maypole, this is something that we did when we were youths, to be fair. Oh my, look at that, our first bluebell. But yeah, sorry. The thing we used to do as youths was kind of dance around the maypole and kind of learn a bit about why. Now in a lot of European cultures, and we'll talk about the kind of Scottish thing a little bit later in more detail. What it means is, at this time of year, it's the opposite of Halloween. And again, it's when these boundaries between the two worlds of lightness and dark, light and death, are at their thinnest. But instead of kind of trying to ward off the dead and the dark spirits and the dark fairies and stuff, there's another one. This is more about welcoming them in. So the May dancing is obviously like a celebration of this. The rebirth, the kind of midpoint between spring and summer, and it's like a joyous thing. And I think the singing, obviously, especially the circular singing, again a bit like Samhain, isn't it, Halloween, the kind of warding off, you're welcoming it in, if you like, and it's a joyous occasion. I don't need to keep waffling on. I mean, that's as much knowledge as we need to go into, isn't it? So what have I picked for that? Well, from Amouage I've gone for Lilac Love, and the reason I've gone for that is because as we get into May, it's the birth of the sweet blue flowers. Maybe bluebells will make a later appearance, but there's just this strong, beautiful scent, and it's almost like we've got to the midpoint of new life and everything, isn't it? And everything's sweet and everything's good, everything's kind of plentiful. There's flowers everywhere. These are flowers that you want to sniff and enjoy. They're almost a little bit fruity, aren't they? Kind of, it's that point in the year where fruits and things like that are at their peak, you know, so an abundance of good fresh food and things like that. A Lilac Love has that kind of warmth from, we know what it is, it has a kind of chocolatey woodiness about it, but the lilac, the sweet greenish tinged beautiful lilac just makes you think of spring. It just, you breathe it in. I'm actually wearing it today, but you breathe it in and it's just, oh, spring. Anyway, I'm waffling, but yeah, the reason that goes obviously with the maypole dancing is kind of obvious, isn't it, really? It's joyous, it's, you know, you'd have flowers in your hair and all of that. I am waffling far too much, so that's lilac love for maypole dancing. Next is something that's, I mean, a lot of these are particularly specific to Derbyshire in the Midlands where I'm from. It used to be part of the old kingdom of Mercia, and it was north of the Danelaw, so we have Viking kind of influence there. But particularly this is important to Buxton, the well dressing, because it's at Spa Town, and water has always been a very kind of precious thing to us there. This predates the Romans and things like that, although these things come back in history. Obviously it got, you know, it started to get more popular in Victorian, Georgian times, etc. But basically we have lots of wells of the fresh springs, and to dress them up, as you can kind of see the pagan roots in them, to honour them, if you like, is to thank the earth, the water gods, however you want to look at it, for life ultimately, because without that water there will be no life. And where they are, it's really weird. It's around the Pennines, which is like a mountain hill strip in the UK, like the highest points in England. And yeah, it's just this kind of thank you. So every year between May and kind of then on through the summer months, we dress them up with flowers and murals. Obviously Christianity tried to hijack it. Some of them are quite Christian looking and stuff, but the point's kind of the same. It is to thank for life, and you know, the saints, who are the saints of water and all that jazz. So it still has the same meaning, if you like, but again, it's particularly important to us. I don't know if they do it anywhere else in the UK, actually. Don't know enough about it, but for us, obviously the Romans did, basically Buxton was already there, but they did name it and make it into a kind of permanent settlement. And the Saxons weren't very successful at kind of overly occupying it, and the Vikings, there is, we call the Pecans, the native peoples always kind of stayed and hid away, and these are obviously closely related to Celtic peoples, which is why we're a weird insular kind of people in that area, because like the Cornish, we very much kept our independence. We're never kind of culturally crushed. But yeah, that's basically what the well dressing is, and the kind of brief thing around it. And what I've gone for is Violet in Love. Oh, look, is it? Yeah, I'll put the names properly on the screen, and that's from yeah, it's from Nikolai Perfumes. And what this is kind of different to one of them more denser kind of powdery violet ones. This is very fresh. There's a definite fresh fruitiness about it. There's a cool breeze. There's the kind of, to me as well, there's even a little bit of a wateriness about it. So it is this kind of spring one, and these are the sorts of colours of the flowers that will be decorating the wells, and just this quite beautiful ethereal violet, a violet that is very spring-like, I suppose. I'm repeating that. But yeah, I think that goes well with the well dressing, and there's even more bluebells here. So yeah, Violet in Love from Nikolai Perfumes. Now next we're going back to the kind of the Beltane, kind of more ancient pagan things, and that is the kind of idea of a May Queen, who was kind of chosen to welcome in and represent the god back then. I don't know who it would have been, you know, and the warmth of spring and the life and all of that. and the light back into the world. She was normally chosen, I don't think she was a priestess or something, which, I mean, we'll get more into this, but May is very much a month of the people. This was not a kind of hierarchical thing. It was just, they were just chosen. So also in Victorian times, it was something that again kind of got traction, and it was just a normal person picked by a group of people to kind of represented it, and you'd have a kind of not a position, but you'd be important for a day or so, and they were picked again by the people, not by the elite or anything like that. It was just a kind of, like I don't know what a prom queen really is, but they'd be honoured and treated specially and all of that, and it's it would have been quite an honour. And again, in the more pagan festivals, it was just a special kind of ceremonial role to I don't believe they were ever sacrificed at any point in history, but just to kind of welcome in the gods and the things like that, and the good fairies, and yeah. So I suppose we want to know what I'm going to scent the May Queen with, and I have picked Insolence. Again, another violet. Now this one's got a more kind of, I've got a bit of the Victorian in my mind, the big powdery violets and powdery kind of feels, the kind of opulence and what have you. Even they would have been very well dressed up and stuff for the occasion back then, even though it was kind of the poor folks. And the same in the kind of more pagan festivals, lots of eye makeup and colours. Colours is so important in May, isn't it? And that kind of general floral feeling, the sweetness, is kind of intoxicating, like the May Queen and the whole kind of situation would have been. There's a lot of fires and stuff again, similar to Samhain and that Halloween period. Again, it's all kind of for the reversed reason, isn't it? And it's a very special, important moment in anyone's calendar back then, and like I say, all the way up to the more modern Victorians. Again, it's nowadays we obviously bow more to doing the pagan festivals and recreating them and just getting in touch with nature again. Again, I don't know what they do elsewhere in Europe. This is just a kind of more my personal kind of cultural areas experience of them. So yeah, for the May Queen is Guerlain's Insolence. So next, I know it's spelt wrong everywhere, no Maria, whatever, is the Wicker Man, and this is again another massive part of Beltane. So it's the film kind of alludes to a bit of these kind of old pagan festivals and what it stands for. Obviously it was made from the old dead trees and the old woods and stuff, and it was ceremonially special to burn all the old and welcome in the new, which again is what this time of year is, isn't it? All the dead and the death and the misery's gone, a new light, a new path, welcoming a new start, if you like. And that's why it's also really kind of important. And of course this will be done in other cultures as well, but again I'm going by my own. So there would be these great structures of wicker men built, and I suppose, I don't know, again, I don't know the history. Like I say, this is not one where I've wanted to go too far into it, otherwise it'd be 7 hours long. Maybe the Wicker Man also represents a sort of a winter god, and they're burning him to get rid of him, and it's really quite a striking one. Obviously this takes place on the nights where there's lots of dancing and drinking of copious amounts of booze and stuff. Maybe the May Queen may light the tinders to start it burning. So it is kind of a really special, moving moment, and an important one, symbolically and just a fun thing to do, isn't it, really? Obviously there's not some weird Scottish policeman in the actual Wicker Man. Maybe they did used to do sacrifices back in pagan times, it's quite possible. But again, I don't think it will be some random Scottish man. I think it will probably be some virgin or something, wouldn't it? Because that's the way these things go. Again, I've gone for another kind of purple floral one for this, but it's a very smoky one. That's Purple Heart from Map of the Heart, which I've spoken about quite a lot, and I think it's a very, very good one for this because it's dark, so it's night time. There's a definite blackness from the inky notes. There's the smokiness of the Wicker Man burning. There's the woods, there's the slight herbal kind of thing because they be burning. There's also the very dark violet flower running through it, that sweetness, you know, that kind of intoxicating feeling in the air of the old burning flowers and people wearing flowers. And they would have been quite strong flowers like these, wouldn't they? So it's all very important symbolically for that moment in time. Yeah, I mean, I don't need to waffle on more than that. You can see it's quite self-explanatory, isn't it? I would love to go to one of these kind of festivals, but where I live now is not. It's not really into things like that. Plus, they have their own culture, the Geordies. You know, being extra sun-tanned with loads of fake tan, not wearing a shirt all throughout the year. Speaking with a funny accent, but I'm sure obviously they do, but they're more modern kind of cultural things at the moment. But yeah, so what am I waffling on about? For the Wicker Man burning and such like is Purple Heart from Map of the Heart. So next is a very kind of revered flower here in the UK, and I think it's something like 80-90% of all the world's bluebells actually grow in this country. And ours are slightly different to the other ones that you get. Ours only grow on one side. I've got to try and find one as we walk and show you. But they're also kind of related to kind of folklore and culture. This is illegal what I'm doing, but it's for the video, it's for content. So that's a bluebell, and what they were considered was fairy traps. And what would happen is us humans will get trapped in the little bells, and the fairies would take us away and do nefarious things to us. And oh my god, I'm just smelling it now. They even this early stage of them coming through, such a magical smell, such a sweet kind of feeling about it. Now what I've picked for that is Alice from Red Adolescent. And I picked that for a very specific reason. There's a forget-me-not note in that. Now, obviously bluebells and forget-me-nots are not the same flower, but the particular connection to it is, I think a forget-me-not smells blue. It's like a bluey purple, isn't it? Now, obviously it's a fantasy note in the fragrance, and the fragrance is also made up of all sorts of other kind of sweeter things, fruity is it orange that's going through it, and there's a big dose of orange blossom, so it's soft and fluffy. There's a kind of darker nod, maybe a little bit of an indolic kind of touch from the tuberose in there, and then it is a little bit powdery and stuff, and as it goes through and dries down, it reminds me of Love Heart Sweets. Also, another major thing going through it is the aldehydes, which again have that fizzy uplifting feel of spring, doesn't it? And I think they're an important part of it, but this keeps going out of focus, doesn't it? Hang on a minute. Right, let's try and keep this in focus. So yeah, I was talking about the aldehydes. Yeah, they give it a kind of lift and kind of magical feel. And then the love hearts is they come in this kind of fizzy fruitiness. Again, very much like what you can imagine a bluebell to be like, especially with the fairy kind of connection. They are very sweet, and almost candied like. The kind of blueness of that fancy forget-me-not kind of feel. The fairy dust, fairy magic around them. And I just think, I know this represents Alice from obviously the Lewis Carroll books, but actually it also to me creates this whole magical mystical world of the bluebell and the connection to the fairies and May and this kind of intoxicating, stunning fragrance you get in the air. We all know I'm kind of obsessed with them. I will keep this so it's not wasted. And don't forget, you know, anyone watching, they were very abundant. It's very early spring, and I was only picking it for research purposes. So yeah, for the bluebells is Redolescence, Alice. Now the last two aren't as mystical and magical. But Workers' Day or is also celebrated on May Day. And it's, again, I understand this is actually one that is celebrated in America. Again, I would imagine across the globe. But there was a massacre of some workers in Chicago, is it? It's got a proper name, I can't remember what it's called. And so obviously that's celebrated there to remember them and the importance and power of the workers. Now in Europe, socialism isn't an evil thing, you know, equality, you know, the workers are the people who we can't live without, and they deserve a fair share of the riches and abundance of the world. We're selling our labour to make people rich. The least we deserve is human rights and workers' rights, and to be paid fairly and to have a good share. Now obviously we know what the world's like now. Since COVID, I think the top 10% in this country have got richer than they've ever been in all of humanity, and I imagine in other countries it's like that. When these bad things happen, the rich exploit the poor more and more. You think wages go up? Oh no. The European Union is particularly focused around the rights of the individual, the rights of the worker, the rights of the people. It doesn't always work. It's not perfect, and it doesn't always work that, and there's always people creaming off. But since we've left it in the UK, workers' rights are not a thing. Like P&O sacked loads of people for no reason, which they're not legally allowed to do, but we're not in the EU, so our government has shown its true colours. Nothing happened to P&O. They just employed people they could pay massively below the minimum wage, massively below it, and work them basically 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and they're not allowed to leave the ship. So slavery is making a comeback, and it's you know, at companies like Amazon don't pay taxes, pay minimum wage, yet the owner of them is the richest man on earth. And it's, yeah, what will happen is it's circular, isn't it? These things will change. The workers, even though education systems in our country again are quite appalling, that's a way of keeping us down, isn't it? So we don't know. This will all change. As you can see, I'm really passionate about this. I wouldn't necessarily call myself a socialist. I don't believe in, you know, the kind of the violent tinge of overthrowing everything and you know, putting people to the guillotine and such like. I'm not a Trotskyist or a Leninist, but I do believe that one day it's going to have to give, and there's more of us than there is of the rich elites and a stupid country with a monarchy. I mean, get real. Things they get away with and do and steal and don't pay for a single thing. But anyway, this is a fragrance video, but that's the background of May Day. It's for us, it's for the people. I believe they tried to steal our bank holiday office last year. I think in the end we still got it. They did the year before, I know they did. And it was the coronation. What a joke. Fucking coronation. So yeah, it's important, and never let them take this day. I mean, at least it's something symbolic away from us. So yeah, what I've picked for this is a Top Shelf from One Way Bridge. There's two in this, it just is the way it is. Now Top Shelf smells like basically a grisly, sweaty man who's been doing manual labour all day. It's quite animalic, quite, and with booze and stuff. So he's coming after probably his 20-hour shift for minimum wage, and he's going to the pub to enjoy himself with his friends and his his comrades and his, you know, his community, and he's just living it up. Loads of heavy spirits and things like that, and it works. The fragrance itself is remarkable. I know it's hard to try some of these fragrances, but I definitely recommend it. And if ever there was a fragrance of the people and the worker, yes. And it just represents that joy, that simplicity of life, that humanity, that human smell. Yeah, this is my video. I'm allowed to talk about what I want to. So that's Top Shelf from One Way Bridge. And finally, talking of it in my video, like I alluded to before, May is also my birthday month. Maybe it's some reason why I'm a bit of a hippie, and also where I come from, and I love these pagan things, and I love being close to nature and connected to things. So maybe there's a bit of spring in me. As far as having spring joy and optimism, perhaps not. Maybe I more have a personality of a November baby, don't I, really? Sorry, that wind is getting quite strong again, isn't it? But yeah, it's my month of celebration, if you like, or commiserations. I don't know about anybody else. I hate my birthday. It's another year, and it's where we kind of do that checklist of what we've achieved over the year. Have we achieved? Okay, never mind. It's just the same old whatever. Oh, and yeah, you have a year closer to death and a year older. How wonderful. But what I've picked for that is kind of a perfect one. And again, from One Way Bridge, it's called Amor or Amore, and it's this wow fragrance. Again, it's got a bit of that kind of naughty, it's more of a carnal sweat, more of a kind of, yeah, mixed with the grapes. And grapes, again, is so rare in fragrance. But I'm going to drink wine on my birthday. I'm not ashamed to admit that. Drown my sorrows, enjoy, take the edge off the day, etc. And Amore, with it being this kind of grapes and naughty musks, and this just kind of oof thing about it. I mean, you know, what is better on your birthday than wine and debauchery? Basically, I mean, I'm not a young man anymore. I won't be quite as active and wild as it was in my younger days, but I could dream of things like that, can't I? So for my birthday, which has found itself into a video, is Amor or Amore from One Way Bridge. So yeah, that's it. More a kind of, I've tried to keep it quick and not too intense into these kind of folklores and mythologies and stuff, otherwise it goes on a long time. And I don't believe in star signs and all of that, but maybe May and all the things it represents and all the things that happen, it's actually a good representation of me as a person, funnily enough. I am a bit of a, you know, a people person, socialist. I love flowers, I love being close to nature, I love these crazy festivals. So yeah, what about you? We'll go back this way so I can keep filming. It's bloody wind. What about you? What month were you born in? Do special things happen in your month? How would you send these festivals, or May? Do you think May is probably the most special month of the year? Are you sad that these proper old festivals were hijacked by so-called Christians or Romans and made it something else? Well, ultimately they kind of keep the same essence, don't they? But yeah, anyway, don't need to bang on and on and on. Thanks for watching. Quite a weird, very specific video. Thanks folks, bye.